Hello, everybody. Welcome from my home office. And I had to be today very agile because the data transfer in Leiden Bioscience Park, running my live session, was cutting a lot of content. So I came home to my home office and I'm happy to run this session. And has been very well tested from home. So here there will be no surprises. So welcome all of you from Netherlands, but also overseas. And I think this time is even better because a lot of probably my colleagues, PhD students and postdocs from academia can now reach us here and listen to this session. So for those which see me for the first time, my name is Schaap-Oziemlak. I'm the founder and CEO of Bio-Inspired Think Tank. And today I'm very happy actually to discuss with you. First of all, that's what I already was posting on LinkedIn, how to make a transition from academia to industry. And this transition, of course, is not one leap, but stepwise process. So we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to also introduce in a moment my short story about how I end up in industry and how I end up with coaching PhD students and postdocs and empowering them in this challenging step from academia to industry. Later on, I'm going to give you some highlights about BCF events and tips from recruiters, but also from companies. This is for those which are from outside of Netherlands. BCF event is already running for more than 20th time, and this is the biggest life sciences career job fair event in the Netherlands, run by Hyphen Projects with great actually co-founder with great founder of this project of the idea, but also all the events which help to empower academic scientists in this transition over the years. Hyphen who. So after this short introduction, I think I'd like to first discuss a little bit my background, how I end up in industry, and what is my coaching experience, and what type of coach I am. First of all, I have academic background. I did PhD in stem cells. I grasped a lot of fundamental knowledge on stem cells, and then I was always missing as a postdoc. Working on really translational projects. So not just stay on in fundamental research, but really make the science useful. So I perceive for postdocs to really work on leukemia, for example, projects where we created human leukemia in mouse model, in chimeric model, to make it more translational, working on drugs targeting specifically leukemic stem cells. Projects which also were on expansion of stem cells. So to help actually amplify numbers of stem cells which are needed for transplantation for patients, because that's usually the limitations if it comes to treatment of hematopoietic disorders or hematologic disorders, where you need to have sufficient numbers of healthy stem cells. So I work also on such projects in my postdocs in 3 different countries, actually in Netherlands, in Belgium, and in Poland. Also applying biomaterials for brain repair. So a lot of translational projects I've done during my postdoc, and I think this postdocs helped me to actually build a very solidified know-how in regenerative medicine and tissue engineering, so that this know-how actually served me to develop beyond academic walls science, but this time on my terms in a way. My terms meaning collaborative terms, where I create, I catalyze, I initiate academic industrial partnerships or collaborations in order to run science and to actually transform this science into product, into something translational, meaning also technologies, medtech products. So this really makes my scientific mission here in industry, particularly in Leiden Bioscience Park, which is the biggest and the oldest science park in Netherlands, really make this mission useful, but also make this mission agile. I talked a lot about agility already on my YouTube channel, on my vlogs. So please go back there if you're interested to learn more about Agile. I also perform Agile workshops. But why I became a coach, this was very straightforward reason. As a scientist starting company, starting a startup, I realized that to create such collaborative teams, composing of both academic researchers but also industrial partners, you need to develop adaptable mindset, thinking from different perspectives, but also understand each other, know how to communicate to each other, also communicate science to each other, how to understand different points of view from both business perspective, but also from scientific or innovative perspective. And that was very important for me to become not just scientist entrepreneur, but also coach in order to build such teams, because I strongly believe that behind great science, behind great innovation, there is a great team. And to make this team well aligned, this very cross-functional, right, interdisciplinary team, you need a coach. You need to be good coach to be able to build this team, so that this team is well aligned and can perform well. So this turned me into scientist, entrepreneur, and agile coach. And through the workshop, I realized that a lot of colleagues which were in academia, they thought about transition. They were asking me, would you actually, since you already many years here in Leiden, more than 7 years I am, if you so much enjoy coaching, would you like to empower us on let's say one-to-one, right, more individual way? And I think that was a calling which further extended my coaching skills, not only coaching teams and teaching them how to work in interdisciplinary environments, so flexible, adaptable, so very agile environment, but also how to increase this team performance, right? Collaborative, academic, industrial team performance. And finally, I was started to develop agile coaching, personalized coaching, customized, because I believe that each PhD student, each postdoc, which decides to make such transition, or each academic researcher, has different path, because we all have very unique sets of skills. We are very unique. And none of us is similar. So that's why please never compare yourself to others, also in their career path, also in their abilities. It's all very individual. But we have this different uniqueness, and this will define the path, also the path, transition path from academia to industry. So agility is very important here. Before I will come to BCF event, which I know that you are very probably curious about my thoughts as a coach, from coach perspective, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what are the main differences, right? Being so long in academia, I very much acquired academic mindset. I know how academic researchers think and how they function. But I'd like to start a little bit from the differences. Longer I stay in the industry, being startup, more I understand what are the really key differences. And I think what I can say about academia and industry, which is important to understand both environments, because then you can make transition the most effective, is that in academia, mainly you are focused on your own development, personal, from PhD student, traditional track is that you go from PhD student, then you become postdoc, and then maybe after several postdocs or few postdocs, you become PI, principal investigator. Of course, you have to build here financial independence to become PI. But this track is quite already. I can show you here maybe better. You can see it better, or I will shift it slightly so that it's more visible. This track, of course, it's quite systemic, already well established, right? But that's what keeps this systemic, I would say, stereotype in academia quite limited in terms of options, right? Career options, especially in Europe, because in US these things also very much evolve. And maybe about that I will talk maybe at other session. But in academia, mainly you focus on on yourself. What is very different from academia is that in industry there is no I, there is a team. The team is very central to industrial organizations, and therefore the team works for company, right? Especially for company to fulfill company mission. So that's very different. Here there is plenty of eyes, right? Plenty of your colleagues. Each of them have different vision, different ideas about what they're going to do. Here is a team, and very often this team is team which not only is composing of scientists, because here we also have science. Don't forget about that. But the team not only is composed of scientists, but it's also composed of business people, business managers, project managers, which not necessarily are biologists. They know how to run the project. A commercial also staff, knowing how to market specific products, people from intellectual property, right? So IP managers. So many different people which form this team. Administrative, of course, also people. So this is very different from academia. And because of this, the mindset is different. Here is mindset which is mainly person driven, and this is a team driven mindset. Of course, we have CEO, but CEO also relies on its team. CEO never should actually act upon um, following their the only vision, and imposing it on the team. In good companies, the team is actually the one which is driving this vision. Of course, CEO can have a vision which team fulfills, but I always believe that team should work on this vision, especially managerial team in big companies. So that's a little bit about the key differences between academia and industry. Besides that, in academia, you mainly work on your project. And here you're going to also work on not only team oriented research, but you're going to work on in this team environment on certain milestones. So milestones are something which keeps this process way more structured compared to academia than when you can constantly, if you are having very good environment, constantly can experiment without really planning things too far. Here in companies, you have to be way more strategic when it comes to choices. So that's about a little bit about the difference. Coming back to BCF event, which I recently attended, I think this is also one of the events where this transition from academia to industry is very much discussed. There's a panel, academia versus industry, led both by academic scientists and together with industry. This is one of my favorite sessions. But before I come to this session, I'd like to. I collected some tips from BCF event, and I think these tips also will help you to make sure that this transition is effective. Of course, I am here very happy to step in as a coach and help you right from beginning. The place where you probably sometimes don't know where to start. You made decision, but you don't know how to start. There I am, having more than 7 years actually experience already, and I'm there to really empower you. But you also need to find out why you want to make transition. So in a way, what is your motivation? This will be very, very important while you are going to already send your CVs, apply for the jobs in industry, talk to recruiters, attending BCF events or other career events, and really think about this deeply. And if you don't know actually how to do it, how I should define this motivation, perhaps you struggle with actually defining this motivation. Please also contact me. I can help you out. But of course, one of the motivation or reasons why people move from academia to industry, first of all, which I already discussed many times on my previous session, so please also go there to the previous sessions, that in academia, in a way, there is a lot of instability. So, and this instability or unstable job conditions, maybe I should write more unstable job conditions, are actually caused by lack of permanent contracts. Permanent contracts are very often given to PIs, which are on already actually proven tenure track, right? Which usually tenure track is also has few years, and then as a PI you have to prove yourself at assistant professor level, and then you perhaps will get permanent position, but not earlier. So you already are quite advanced and you have to show that you can get grants, you are financially independent, or you are able to receive grants, or you get successful grants or prestigious. So it's pretty unstable if you don't have always, you not always are lucky with science, with your scientific track, or perhaps animal model you study. This creates conditions which expose you to very unstable job conditions, right? Lack of permanent contract. Usually, these contracts for PhD students and postdocs, especially for postdocs, are very short, right? Perhaps 2-3 years, sometimes 5, I heard, but that's very uncommon. So, indeed, also low pay, low salaries, usually not satisfying compared to industry. And in industry, it's you can have permanent positions way more often. This happens if you're very good and you perform well. So definitely the job conditions are way more secure, unless you work for a very small company and this company, for example, doesn't, it's not established on the market yet. Perhaps then this future can be very different while you land your job in industry in a small, for example, company. But if you actually do land it in big company, in multinational company, I think your chances for permanent job, for very good package, benefits, actually, that's how it's called, really are expanding. So it is something which I always, I think, bring in, that there is also a financial difference, and benefits are not comparable to industry. If we think about academia. So that's something which I wanted to share regarding to some reflections, some highlights from BCF event. The tips which are important to think about. There is many, of course, tips. I collected some of them for you. First of all, to perform such transition, if you think about the process, and I, as a coach, think a lot about the process, you have to, that was also one during the female perspective empowering session, where the target audience was 100% females. But I realized very quickly that this is not just a session for empowering females. Even in the panel were only females representing industry, having also academic background. But this also can be very much aligned with a man. So in that case, I think men who are listening to my session, please don't feel excluded. I talk about females' perspective, but all these tips very much also resonate with you, and you will find probably useful. If you don't, please also comment, so we can have further exchange of ideas regarding these tips on the YouTube channel. So first of all, first tip. So for men and women, being not exclusive coach, but inclusive. Give yourself room to change. That's something which is very important. And perhaps I should actually write it here. Give yourself room, space to change. This is the first thing which is very important. And I know that we live in very fast-paced environment, especially at academia, where you're finishing your PhD, you are busy with completing your thesis, then preparing for PhD defense, and so on and so on, or perhaps submitting still your manuscripts to journals or postdoc, which is also even in more hectic, I would say, environment. It's very difficult to find time, but it's actually a time which you need to find for yourself. And think about this move. Prepare yourself in a stepwise way. Perhaps also contact me so that we can start before you actually make eventually move, because industry actually wants to have candidates which are already prepared, and not candidates which are running between experiments and publishing manuscripts and writing still thesis. This is not something which industry is looking forward. So that's one thing. The next tip, which I found very important during the BCF event, is never hesitate in terms of having some opportunity. In business, we very often say that uncertainty is also an opportunity. So when you make this transition, right, and this is uncertain zone, right? This is, I call it non-comfort zone. You learn the most about yourself, about your skills, about how you can implement all this knowledge from academia into industry, about your creativity, about your problem solving, and so on and so on. So if you are at a BCF event, talk to people, ask them questions, make sure that they see you so you become visible. That's one of the most important things. If you become visible, people know how to find you. You connect on LinkedIn right away. You ask good questions. You show that you are really interested in company, not just in mission, but also in work culture, that you actually do like and it does resonate with you. Very often you become very visible and you have great CV. I mean, this is your entry card, as I call it, to industry. So never hesitate at opportunity. Dive in and take it. Then Another thing, this process is, as I said, not one step process to jump from academia to industry. So it is giving also, that's another tip from women's session, applied to both men and women, to all of us, giving patient. So actually, I should say give, right? As a coach, I would even say, please give patient, patience to yourself. This is very important since this process is very can take a time. Some speakers at BCF event actually were commenting that it took actually to get really from academia to industry, it took at least half a year. So thinking about half a year, 6 months, this can be very long process. Doesn't have to be so long, but it can be long. And I think based on the speakers, it was good to see that actually this process is not quick and requires a lot of patience, a lot of preparations, taking opportunities, and really learning how to how to make sure that I'm visible, what I can do to become visible to this particular company, because I also make sure that you don't have to be visible to for everybody, but you have to be visible for companies which are aligned with your hard skills, with your or work culture, which you want to work for. So I call it always top 10 or top 20 companies you're looking for. So don't talk to all the companies, because then you waste your energy. You have to focus on some companies and put effort there. Yes, so that's what we very often as coaches say. Where the focus goes, energy flows, and that's how you can prevent yourself. Because I also know that if some such process may take 6 months, this can be leading if you are too over. If you are too busy with too many things, with too many companies, you can even get burnout, and this doesn't really serve later on at later stages where companies have interviews and even more is required perhaps from you. Perhaps you want to, for example, you are going to be asked to prepare presentation, or you're going to go through interviews which require more to actually to prepare, not just answering the questions. So that's something which I think is particularly important here. The next tip, and I think this is already something which was spoken out at BCF even during female empower or female perspectives for empowering females. But as I said, this is addressed to all of us, including men. Activate your network. And I think we live in a times that it's so easy to actually activate your network. You don't have to call anybody by telephone. You can go on LinkedIn and basically ask for connect to people and ask for 5-10 minutes coffee chat, online coffee chat. That's what I also do for business, for my collaborative projects. If I find some interesting potential collaborator, and ask them for their how they end up in industry, what was their experience. Ask them some questions which you perhaps they're even more specific, especially if they work in the company you would like to work in. BCF event is one of the events that you can have much higher chance to talk to, because there are companies like GeneMap, like MSD. These are very big companies. People are there. They have booths, right? There is an exhibition hall where you can walk into every booth and talk to all these people. So that's the easiest way. I think the most approachable way to really reach people from companies and ask them for more details. And again, become visible here, driven, motivated, positive. I think that's very important. And first of all, interested, really interested in what they're doing. Not only about benefits. I would not be only focused on benefits. And the last I think, but this, of course, this tips, more. I attend of BCF events because I attend BCF events already for years. I think I see how these events evolve, and they evolve, I think, in very beautiful way to really show how now we can, merge together and help each other, and academia, how academia can help industry, and how industry, what kind of impact industry can make on academia, and how also importantly, industry can attract talent, right? Academic talent. These are PhDs are highly skilled workers. So how academia can present themselves, but also how industry can really embrace this talent. I think that's the something which I found particularly important from perspective of a coach. So the last tip which I'd like to bring here is follow what, and that was actually the tip from Alex Cloherty, follow what you love. I think it's pretty deep thought which you might already recognize, even from songs. I think from music, from songs, really truly be connected to what you love by looking for the job. And taking this approach not only from mind level but more holistic, from heart level. So very holistic thought here, or tip perhaps. So that's about the tips which I promised on LinkedIn already. And there's of course more tips, but I think these are some which I think brought my attention. So now, if we think about the program of BCF event, I'd like to now discuss a little bit the session which was led by a senior recruiter from Checkmark. This is recruitment agency already many years on actually functioning very well and recruiting and helping actually PhD students and postdocs to find suitable job in industry. And this session was led how to draft the perfect CV and motivation letter. And I really enjoyed this session. This session was, I think, one of the best recruiting sessions which I attended for many years. Perhaps because it was led by senior recruiter, the person which already has solidified experience in recruiting PhD students and postdocs. So some highlights about how to prepare this perfect CV from senior recruiter perspective. So first of all, there is nothing like perfect CV. The title, I think, was made by purpose, but it meant high quality CV. CV which can stand out. And I think here I also will tell later about my coaching scheme. But these CVs, which I'm also preparing with my coaches, are also focused on making sure that the CV is unique and it's standing out. But what I per se like that senior recruiter was very specific and very aesthetic about CVs. First of all, from perspective of recruiter, or senior recruiter, because that really matters. CVs, many times people discuss what kind of CVs they can be. Shall there be a photo? And I like that actually one of the important highlights which I want to share is photo, because many of you always ask, should we include it or not? Will this help or not? And actually, that was again a statement which has been done there, that photo, and interestingly, photo which you place on LinkedIn and photo which is on CV, it should be the same photo, because then it's much easier for recruiter to recognize you while he first see you on LinkedIn, connect perhaps with you, and then you send CV. So photo is very welcome because it makes you simply much easier to remember for anybody. It's not just for a recruiter, but for anybody who is going to talk to you. So photo is definitely a plus. So never hesitate to place photo on your CV. Of course, this photo has to be professional. But it can be scientific photo, can be photo in a lab coat if you apply for R&D position. This only shows that you really enjoy the research, doing experiments. You motivated scientists, but of course this has to be still very neat photo. So I think that what I can bring from myself, that's the photo can also makes you stand out, and I think that's also makes things different on your CV. Uh, Secondly, of course, it's always discussed, but I think this is also important. In terms of companies prefer one page, so one pagers CVs. Companies don't have so much time as in academia to screen multiple pages. It's important to bring their skills, which are transferable skills, to prepare perhaps master CV, but send specific CVs for specific position. And that's what I'm also preparing you as a coach. But of course, 3 pages are not a harm for industry, but you should be careful with the content. Because you really have to make sure, especially on the page one, that this is the page which is the first page the recruiter are going to look at, or company. So this page has to be done very well. This also creates visibility, right? How, especially page number 1 of your CV looks like. Then the next thing which was discussed, and I was actually quite surprised, is that regarding references, of course, you have to know who you're going to use as a reference, and you have to also inform your references about that you're going to apply for jobs in industry. It doesn't matter, I think, if it's industry or academia. Once you apply, I think it's pretty fair to inform your PI, academic PI, about your choices, and perhaps he can even help you, right? So it's good to prepare such also a reference perhaps before you go. That was also very important, I found, tip from recruiter. So referees, but also references. So perhaps you can, before you actually leave academia, you can ask your PI, your supervisor, or your supervisor colleague, postdoc perhaps, if you're a PhD student and your postdoc was your direct supervisor, to write already references for you. So this is not recommendation, this is just the opinion about your performance, your both scientific but also based on personal performance and how you work with others. Especially how you work with others is very crucial for industry to hear. Not only the what kind of how great scientists you were, but can you work in a team? Because as I said at the beginning, in company setting, there's a team. There's no I. like in academia, there is a team. So team, what kind of team, are you good team player? Or do you still find it challenging, and there is a space for improvement? So ask references before you leave academia. That's also much easier for your PI. You can also understand that if PI, for example, has 5 PhD students, and he's guiding them in parallel, it's much easier for him having this, fresh look on your performance after 4 years of PhD, rather than perhaps after, maybe you will do between jobs, or I don't know, you will plan something and longer it takes. It's in actually, once you leave academia, his look on you is fading away because he has other PhD students and other obligations to take care of. So I think it's good to pay attention to ask your PI before you leave academia for references, or your direct supervisor, right, your postdoc or other colleagues which you work, perhaps also in a team. That's all very welcome. Few references from different levels, I think companies always appreciate. So not necessarily only PI, but also perhaps your postdoc in your group if you're a PhD student, or master student if you are, or your colleagues which you work with directly. This also can be your references. So you can have more than one reference from academia. Then the next thing regarding CV. And I think maybe next, I see that I'm looking at the time, because these sessions are usually 1 hour, and try to keep 1 hour strict. So I would talk perhaps more about this event, because this event there was so many things to discuss, and I grasp so many things that I think it's even for extra session. So I will probably do more next session still covering BCF event, because there's a lot of things to discuss, and I think these are things which are really important. So we talk about photo, right? We talk about numbers of pages, because that also issue which comes back every time. Every time people have questions about that. References. The next thing, and this I think I'm going to already, before I will move to motivation letter, I'd like to also mention this. A lot of people don't pay attention, but what recruiters also pointed out, that please make sure that content of your CV is pleasant to, as you would expect, read, and it's pleasant to see. First, we just see things, and then we start reading. Pleasant means also here that in terms of colors, these things are pleasant to see, because that's what I really like, what also senior recruiter said. If we see something which we don't per se like, we will not even read it further. But if we see something which is presented in pleasant way, and here particularly recruiter paid attention for colors, for example, blue and light green, that also caught my attention. Colors. Also pay attention to the colors. I think I will also put it here a little bit. So the colors, pay attention to colors, because this apparently is also important. And I think for me, this is very, I prepare a lot of posters and brochures, do a lot of scientific marketing also for my startup on social media. So I know that there are colors which are the color catchers, but recruiters want something pleasant, something not too shouty. So blue, light green, or dark green perhaps, because light green, you can also be careful about light colors or light greens or light blues, that perhaps recruiters going to print all the CVs, or your future employer, industrial employer, and things will be not very visible because the colors are too light. So if you choose color, rather choose dark blue or dark green, because these colors are very nice still, and very visible. So that's something which I think I also was quite surprised, but it's good actually that this was senior recruiter, because it pointed really things which really can make a difference, and these are simple things to change, right? So the next thing, the content in terms of being pleasant, easy to read, it's also important that the content is presented by bullets. I think many of you already know that. But bullets are important, and also highlighting techniques in each job position. That's also very important. Uh, Not just putting general information about the project without specifying the tasks in bullets, and also making sure that you don't write full sentences, but that you really can write something concise. This is also important skill where recruiters see, can you present some information in a concise way? Because as we always, I think many times I already talked on my vlogs, but also coaching sessions, for industry, the time is money. That's another big difference between academia and industry. Time is money. Spending time on CVs, reading them, also takes a lot of time. So you better write it well. Uh, if you apply for position through recruitment office, make sure not always recruiters are biologists. They don't know everything about what you've done. They are not specialists in your field per se. So make sure that it is readable also. It's not just pleasant, but it's readable. So you can explain it well, also in a written way, what you've done. So these are terms which you should also pay attention, how you write in a concise way, but how also are you not too specific, or are you not too general? And there I also, as a coach, can help you out to prepare such CV. So these are things which I would say were very important in terms of making high quality or preparing high quality CV. And I think this is always an eye opener. Every time I follow these sessions, every time there is something new. Um, Definitely, you can use ChatGTP, but be careful, because recruiters are very sensitized on this. And what I've seen from this senior recruiter, she rather would not prefer that. She would like that candidates will use their creative writing skills and do it themselves without help of AI tools or ChatGTP. That's something overall referring to CV, but also motivation letters, where obviously you also have to show your creativity, but also business case, success case, troubleshooting case, to make it really personal. And this can be extension of your CV. And I think it's great that recruiters talking about motivation letters, because I believe that motivation letters can really make a difference between choosing one candidate and selecting him as the one which is going to be hired. Then we move to a little bit interview. I also would like to bring a little bit something about interview. Interview it's a interplay. It's interplay between recruiter, company representative or company hire, and the candidate. So make sure that was important from recruiters to prepare questions. And I was surprised that you can even prepare questions and bring them. You can even print them. Apparently, recruiters love that when candidate has many questions, because this also shows that candidate is truly interested in this company, in the company profile, and really wants to work. So this is something which I also wanted to bring here, because many people they think about perhaps one or two questions, or, well, I will create something, I will improvise during the interview. But this is actually the time where companies asking you questions, and you have to answer in more or less concise way, without having monologue. But in the end, usually they give you space. Do you perhaps have a questions? And I think in the perfect situation, I always, the interviews which I've been going through, I had very conversational interviews, meaning that there was interaction not just between me and the interviewer, but there was also interaction with questions. And this became sort of like a very conversational chat. And I felt as much engaged as the interviewer felt that he was engaged and I was engaged. And I think that is the best example of interviews you can have, where they are not like follow certain scheme that you get 10 questions and you answer all of them and then finally it says space for you, but that you can from early stage of interview you can become part of it. And I think that's the best type of interviews, instead of following this schemes which sometimes we are used to. And another thing about interview is that what I also liked, recruiters, job employers, they know that you are stressed and sometimes you are overwhelmed. If you're too stressed, if you have blackout, just say it. Say it. Don't be afraid to say that you are very nervous. If really is stress is eating you and you feel that you're going to fade away or get blackout and you get frozen, just say that. And because recruiter, especially when we have interviews which are digital, cannot really read it well, because it's true, emotions are flowing through the screen very different. I'm very extrovertic, so I believe that actually a lot of things which I say here, you feel the emotions which are coming from me too. Because I feel that I think that emotions are important part of it, of your personality, of how caring you are, how serious you are about getting this job, how committed and motivated and dedicated you want to be. So obviously for extrovert, perhaps that's also important to express it. I think for both introverts but also for extroverts to express it if you're nervous, because nervousness can also, that's a little bit from my past experience. I used to, when I was very nervous, talk faster and faster and faster. And then actually being on YouTube taught me that I want that what I say people understand, that it is useful, that they can not just hear me, but they can understand me. So faster I talk, this will become probably just like a sea of words. And I don't want that. I want that the content which I create is really not just, it's not about structure, it's not about flow, it's not about strategy, it's not about only that it is very useful, but it's very well understood, so that I don't talk too fast, because that's what also can happen during interview. Or also way you articulate things, pay attention. I had also Asian origin coaches, which were very good, but we really there were paying attention the way they articulate while they are pitching for a job. So that's something which I believe is something which I'd like to share today, about highlights from a BCF event. And as I said, now I have 6 minutes, and I'd like to a little bit talk about my agile career, or actually coaching focused on transition from academia to industry. First of all, the coaching scheme. I'm doing it already, as I said, for more than 7 years, empowering PhD students, postdocs, but I also have lately also master students. And I think I always feel this way, that of course, the first are the PhD students and postdocs, but I'm very happy also to help masters from academia to move to industry. They have peculiar advantage because they are much younger, and very often industry is focusing, especially small companies which don't have big budgets to hire for masters, because they simply don't have to offer such high salary as for PhDs, for example. And I think this is quite obvious, right? But this works this way. Slightly lower, well, if you are master or you are PhD, this will make difference in the salary you will receive or in entry position you will receive. So here are masters, which I'm coaching, PhD students, and postdocs. So if you are master, you also have very good chance to get a job in industry. So you should never feel because you have compared to PhD, lower education, you should never hesitate here. So if you don't know how to do it, how to start, please contact me. Also, regarding coaching scheme, as I said, I start from making sure that CV is unique. It's interested for industry, it's one pager. I explained before why. Then we very quickly also in this CV identify, I as a coach, a set of unique skills. And this we implement into the CV as your personal introduction. This also helps you later in interviews, but also in pitching for a job while networking, for example, at BCF event. So this is the first thing. Then the next step is writing motivation letters. These are important letters which can be hiring letters, and this also happened in case of my coaches. They can be the decisive ones. So I teach you here how to write them creative, how to think from industrial perspective, and how to bring. I offer also different templates, so you can train different styles of motivation letters. Then the next thing after motivation letters is pitching. Pitching is quite known for entrepreneurs, because we as a scientist entrepreneurs pitch many times our projects to investors, to different grant agencies, right? Public agencies. I pitch a lot of things for also competitions, pitch competitions in different settings here in Netherlands, but also online. So pitching while networking, I call it, but first of all, pitching yourself as a job candidate. Then the next part is the next actually advanced level of pitching is pitching yourself, you're presenting your hard and soft skills while networking. This is very often happening at live events, which I do. So live coaching. This is eye-opener, I call it shortly. And this brings enormous confidence I see with my coaches, even the ones we start from being an introvert. They become way more extrovert than I would even imagine. So it's great space for me as a coach to see this growth during these live sessions. Then there is a simulation of interviews. Once we pass the stage of pitching, simulation interviews. I've been trained by Yale scientists while doing PhD, training me how to ask difficult questions. And I think the art of asking difficult questions and multiple questions being also driven by curiosity as a scientist helped me actually to simulate these interviews pretty well. And I've been on boot camps with American scientists. They said, okay, Aneta, we are very good in preparing CV, in writing, but once it comes to interview, it's completely different. You cannot be there with us. That's a pity. But you can definitely simulate this with us and help us and ask a lot of questions which we could never think of. So this gives a way for being well trained in answering questions, and also paying attention during this simulation to give you as my coachee, to give answer in a concise way, because recruiter has a lot of questions, your interviewer has a lot of questions. You cannot keep talking and answering. More you talk and try to answer this question, more you actually may create a confusing readout for interviewer. You should try to answer question in honest way, but also in concise way, unless the questions are highly speculative. But that's where you can use your creativity and independent critical mindset, right? That's also the way we are trained as a scientist. So I think simulation of interviews is the last one. And I'm always open to many different stages when we start. If you are a fast learner, we can go through the session pretty fast, but maybe there are areas that you particularly want to work on. I call it weaknesses. A lot of people is afraid of talking about weakness. I don't know why as a coach. Please remember that weaknesses are always, as one of my actually potential interns interviews I had said very nicely himself. He was first afraid of talking about this, and then I said, hey, but how you would describe it different? Well, it's a space for improvement. Exactly. So I'm interested in people weaknesses as a coach, because that's the way we grow. Also, that's the way we grow as a job candidates. More you honest with me as a coach, if you more share with me what are your weaknesses, because strengths we will identify pretty quick, but what are your weaknesses, then we can also more define this program or customize coaching and improve actually this space, right? So weaknesses are very important. We all human beings, and we all have our up and downs, but we also all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and they all very important in the coaching and also in your future jobs, because there's always space for improvement. And you should never start from having this mindset like, I'm going to only present the best attributes, the strengths, and I will try to hide all my weaknesses. I don't think this is something which companies per se want. They want to hear very often what's your best side and what's your weak side. And the weak side they want to know, because they can offer you perhaps courses where you can improve this, improve or actually fill up this space. So that's something which I like to also say at the end. So this coaching is highly customized, is one-on-one, it's online, it's affordable. And if you don't actually, you never had a coach, please don't be afraid to have one. I really would like to guide you in nurturing environment, and really instead of thinking critically or looking critically, really be there with you on this journey from academia to industry. So if you are interested, please contact me by LinkedIn. I think that's the quickest. I'm really happy to empower more master, but also PhD students and postdocs in this transition. And it was a pleasure for me to present this content. I hope you find it useful. And if you have questions, please also put it in the comments. So I will be very happy to answer. Take care. Have a good weekend, all of you guys, and see you next time. Bye.